Hello and welcome back to Desi Junction. Today we have the honor of hosting Precinct 3's Constable Nabil Shike with us. It was an honor for us. Let's talk to him and go through his journey about being a constable and his rerun preparations for the next term. Hello Nabil, how are you?
Assalamualaikum, how are you doing?
I'm good, Walaikum Salam. How's everything?
Alhamdulillah, everything is well.
So tell me that how did this all started? Because हमारी community में a lot of people go for businessmen, gas stations, all sort of business. How does this constable and serving the community and police came through?
Well, I think it goes all the way back to my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
With my dad, him taking me to a lot of the political events and me seeing and growing up around the politics. I worked in the oil and gas, before, and then I actually fell off of a tank in Deer Park, about 100 foot, dislocated my shoulder, and, went back to the family and was like, hey, I could have died doing this. Was thinking about going to the academy at the time, was working also in security and private investigating with my dad. And just so happened to meet the Precinct 6 constable, who was Victor Trevino at the time, while I was going through the academy. And the family was just scared because they're like, being a police officer is very, it's a dangerous job.
It's a dangerous job, absolutely.
And I looked at it like, the death comes from Allah. Nobody can take it from you. Nobody can take your life. Nobody can give you life without, Allah. So absolutely. If it was written for me to die as a police officer, then that's what was written.
Yeah.
And once my family understood it, then they gave me the blessings to go forward.
Nice. I believe just coming to know that you fell off like from 100 feet and then, so it's like opting for bigger danger rather than.
I wouldn't say bigger danger. I just, growing up in A-Leaf, you see a lot of good cops, you see a lot of bad cops.
Right.
And I wanted to be part of that change.
Okay.
And so that's what led me into being a police officer. And then once you become a police officer, then you realize there's only so much change you can do. So you have to promote.
Absolutely.
So I promoted up to the rank of a sergeant, where you have some supervisory powers, but you're still limited on what you can do. And so when I decided I was going to run for constable in 2018, I just came back from Pakistan. And first I was considering to either run for sheriff or for constable. I sat down with our current sheriff, Eric Hagan, shared with him my ideas, what I wanted to do. My law enforcement background, I heard his, and I just felt that it was better for the community as a large for me to run for constable and for him to run for sheriff, and then us work together collaboratively.
Nice. I think that's how you do the things when you collaborate, better things, and you serve the community in a better way, I believe.
Right.
And since I'll tell all the viewers that he is the first Muslim constable ever in USA. How does it feel, man? Does it have like extra burden on you?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, again, everything, all praise goes to Allah.
Absolutely.
But it's a huge burden. You sure to be the highest ranking Muslim police officer in the country, and being elected on top of it.
True.
Where you have 250,000 citizens of Fort Bend County that are entrusting me into this position. But I just don't look at it that it's 250,000 people. We have nearly 2 billion Muslims around the world. So me wearing these stars, I say that it's very heavy because I'm scrutinized on everything that I do. And so I have to try to be excellent every single day because I represent 2 billion people, not just 250,000 people.
Absolutely. So talking about your constable career, let's go back and see that what were your biggest achievements or accomplishments that you had as a constable, and how did they benefit the community in your past tenure or the current tenure?
Yeah, so, I was elected in 2020. My very first thing that I promised that I was going to do was diversify the command staff. There was, if you looked at the office itself, it was predominantly one race. Fort Bend County is the most diverse county in the nation. Precinct 3 is the most diverse precinct in the nation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of my big things, was to make sure that I had representation at the top that represented the community. So my chief deputy is an African-American. My third in command, who is a captain, is an Hispanic female. And then you have myself. So you have the Asians, you have the Blacks, you have the Hispanics, and then the next in command you'll have a white. So you truly represent all of Port Benton County.
Yeah.
So that was one of my very first big initiatives to do. And the second thing was I realized that we didn't have any Muslims that were working inside Fort Bend. And so one of my big things was to bring some Muslims. And so we hired the first full-time constable deputy, just so happened to be Pakistani and also Muslim. And now, alhamdulillah, we have, 3 Pakistanis that are working. We have 4 Muslims that are under my leadership. We have some now at the sheriff's office with Captain Nasser Abasi. We have now an assistant chief with Assistant Chief Yasir Bashir in the Houston Police Department. And so my election really kind of opened up the eyes of, I think, other communities and other politicians and leaders to understand that the Muslims are here and the Muslims are here to stay, and the Muslims have influence and the Muslims have power. And through that power, we were able to spread it into other organizations.
True. Absolutely.
So that was another real big thing that we wanted to do. We weren't a 24-hour police agency. It's a lot of people don't understand that the constables in Fort Bend County were different than what you see in Harris County. They didn't emphasize heavily on patrolling. They did more on the civil side.
Mm-hmm.
When I came into office, that was one of my first things that we did. Crime still occurs at night. Agar aap, 12 baje raat mein ghar karo, right? Somebody can still come and commit a crime.
Exactly. And I think raat mein it's more important.
Exactly. And they shut down. And so what we wanted to do was ensure that we ran a 24-hour police operation.
Nice.
And so we're very proud that we're doing it. We have there are some struggles with it because we're not as large as some of these other agencies, but we're making it work. We've been a part of several task force with the United States Marshal Service, with the federal government, and the local and state government, where we're going after these violent offenders. Those are great initiatives that we put together, that we participate in, and it just makes our county safer as a whole. You look at the traffic mobility, you look at the expansion of our reserve program and what we're able to do. You look at what we've done at Mariam Masjid. Mariam Islamic Center in Sugarland was paying close to about $60,000 in security. And one of my initiatives where I believe that no religious establishment should have to pay for police officers.
Absolutely.
I feel that everybody should be able to go pray and go worship to their God in peace. And we've seen several times where with these religious establishments, we've had some even in Houston that have been targeted. And so, if I go to a masjid to go pray, I want to be able to go pray in peace, knowing that somebody's not going to come behind me and start shooting at me. And so Mariam Masjid was the first one to sign the agreement with us. And alhamdulillah, we'll be saving them close to about $200,000 by the end of this term.
That's a big number, actually.
Yeah, which all then gets reinvested into the community.
Exactly.
The masjid is looking to expand and grow, so that money that they're able to save, that is of the community's money, they're able to reinvest that into expanding the masjid or expanding into youth programs. And, I look at it, not doing it for myself, I look at it as doing it for Allah.
Absolutely, and for the community.
For the community, because it's going to benefit not just myself in my office, it benefits
everybody, actually. Whoever is going to the masjid or any prayer place, it's for everyone.
Correct.
And then on top of it, you mentioned, you just said there were like no different races in your office. And then you also mentioned, I think, that one of your second deputy or somebody is a female.
Yeah, so my second in command is an African-American, which they've never had. He's the first in that department's history. And then the third in command is a female.
So it's just not race, it's also the female empowerment as well from your side. Well, that's a wonderful initiative. Why do you believe, आपको ऐसा क्यों लगता है कि it's important to rerun as a constable for the next term? And what motivates to do all this good work that you are continuing doing for the community?
That's a great question. I think to be a public official, to be a public servant, you have to truly want to serve the public, right? You do things without wanting the recognition for it. You do it because that's what your heart tells you to do. I talk a lot about God because I do things for God. I don't do it to impress anybody else or anything else. I do it to build my name up, right? And hopefully that it helps everybody else. And as the constable, you really have to understand that because you have an immense amount of power. As a police officer, you have a lot of power. You have the power to take somebody's life, and you have the power to take somebody's liberty away. It's the only profession that you have that kind of power. But the great saying with a lot of power comes a lot of responsibility.
Exactly.
I feel that our work is not done. There's a lot of stuff that we're doing to help grow law enforcement in Port Bend County. There's still a lot of help that we need to get done. We're working on the recognition program right now, which, you guys can look it up. You can Google the Texas Recognition Program. There's only 4 constables in the entire state of Texas that are recognized by the state. And that is best policies and procedures. And so it's a 2-year program. We've already started the program, and inshallah, we'll be finishing it up by next year. That allows us to apply for federal and state grants.
Nice.
We're being very proactive rather than reactive because in 2026, police agencies that are not recognized cannot apply for grants anymore. And we're understanding this now, so we're going through the process now. Plus, it saves the county on liabilities. It protects, our office. It protects the county. It protects the employees. It protects our citizens. And these are the best practices that the state of Texas wanted law enforcement to be following.
Nice. So it's what I'm understanding is that you are already working ahead of time for the next term, and you're already making plans and strategies for the next term that can be reinforced once you are reelected.
Correct.
That's nice. So I think that's a great initiative if you're thinking ahead of time. And as you mentioned, there are a lot of changes that are going to happen, and you won't be getting any grants from the federal government. So that's absolutely wonderful to know. How effectively you think you address the community concerns and issues in the past, and how do you think it's important, and why do you think it's important to continue doing so?
Well, I think addressing the community's concerns, I believe that we do a great job addressing the concerns. Even when we have citizens that are filing cases with, let's say, the Sugar Land Police Department, and they may not get the response that they're wanting from Sugar Land. They come into our office and sit with us. We take the time out to actually talk to them. I will take the time out myself as the constable to sit there and talk to them, which you don't really see in law enforcement, where you're having the head official from that agency sitting down just to talk to a citizen. They'll typically delegate it to maybe another officer or deputy or a sergeant or something. But at our office, we have an open door policy where any community member, doesn't matter what race you are, doesn't matter what religion you are, whether you voted for me or you didn't vote for me, we have an open door policy where you can come in and address any concern that you want to address. Anytime that there is I'll give you an example, a problem with speeding that we had in Eliana, which is a neighborhood out in Precinct 3. In that particular neighborhood, the board reached out to us and said that they had a speeding problem by the schools. And then by the very next day, we'll put out the traffic trailers that are monitoring everybody's speed, that are reminding everybody to slow down. And we'll put several police officers there for enforcement and education at the same time, because it's not always about enforcement, right? Do you want to just being out there can be a positive enforcement.
Exactly.
Right.
Sometimes it's not about enforcing some things. It's about educating the people.
Educating.
So for the betterment of the whole community and them as well.
Correct.
And that's wonderful. So as you just mentioned that you have an open door policy for everyone, regardless of the race and everything. I'd like to tell the viewers that how can they contact you if they have any issues regarding anything in Precinct 3? What are the ways to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can call our office directly. I'll say the contact number, 281-242-3014. That's our office number directly, or you can send me an email at nabil.shike@fortbendcountytx.gov or fbctx.gov. or you can just come into the office.
That's wonderful. So everybody who is listening to us, who's watching us, if they have any issues, your constable right here, Nabil Shaikh, just told you the ways to contact. And if you have any concerns, issues, anything, you can always get in touch with them. And one of the the last question I have is, what are your top priorities for the next term? And how do you align the current needs and challenge faced by the community?
That's it's a difficult question in part to answer. We're going to build on stuff that we've done over this first 3.5 years, 3 years or so, and continue to build what we're doing now. There's no reason for us to regress that. We're trying to be progressive and continue to change. Now, with change comes resistance, and we understand that there is going to be some resistance in the crew. And that's why it's very important to elect other constables that have a very similar mindset, that they're wanting to be progressive, they're wanting to help grow law enforcement in the county, so it's better for our citizens in the county. And so that's the probably the biggest thing that we're looking forward to in our reelection. If you look at challenges, I think really, as a Pakistani, as a Desi, as a Muslim, I think the community doesn't understand that I just don't represent them. I represent the African American community. I represent the Oriental community, and the other Asian communities, and the Hispanic community, and the white communities. I represent everybody, and I think our community also has to understand that.
Yeah.
That. Hey, yes, Nabil is there, but he has to help everybody.
Regardless of the race.
Regardless of everything.
Yeah.
You can't just, well, he's Muslim, he's only going to sit there and help the Muslims.
Yeah.
You got to be able to help everybody. And as an elected official,
Exactly.
Being Pakistani and having, our community that's like, Nabil, bhai, we need this or we need this. And whatever I'm able to do, I do to help them. But also having that understanding that there's other communities as well that we have to help.
And they voted as well, actually. And that, I think, adds more responsibility to you, that the other community, race, religion, whatever it is, they are trusting you with their vote as well. Correct. So I think that adds more power and more responsibilities. But our community actually needs to understand this, that it's just not them. It's just not Desis, Muslims, or Pakistanis. It's everybody in the Fort Bend County, or everybody around the Fort Bend County that he's here to take care of. And it's just not us. I know you're very busy, बहुत busy, and you have things to align, so I won't take much of your time. Just before you go, what's your message for everybody in the Fort Bend County, in the Precinct 3, and everybody who's watching you at the moment? This camera is yours.
Yeah, take a look at, what everyone has done for this community, right? I think as a Pakistani elected official, I probably have done more than any other Pakistani elected official that we've had in Texas. We've had a couple of them, but I really love my community. I really care for my community. I say I help these other communities as well, but I do a lot for our community, and I do a lot more than anybody else would do. And just having that heart. To just put a smile on somebody's face, or to be able to help a family that's in need. And it's not always just financially, it's being able to give them the resources that they need. And you have other people that are running for political offices that their hearts are not in the right place.
Exactly.
And to run for political office, you always got to be willing to grow. Alhamdulillah, since I, became constable, I've also enrolled into law school. And alhamdulillah, I'm going to be graduating this December.
And that's wonderful.
And we'll be taking the bar exam during the election. So please pray for me.
That requires a lot of prayers.
But to myself, it's always wanting to exceed the expectation, to always want to be excellent. I can't just talk about being excellent. I have to strive to go be excellent. So I'm going to continue building myself so I can show our community and show other communities that Muslims can lead. And, when you go out there and you go vote, ask for the Democratic ballot in March and vote, for Nabil Shike and those individuals that their hearts are aligned with genuinely wanting to help the community without wanting anything in return.
That's wonderful. So we had Mr. Nabil Shaikh for Constable Precinct 3 here today, and you heard himself saying everything that you wanted to hear, all the questions concerned. I believe that would have cleared a lot of things. जितने हमारे पास concise सवालात थे, we wanted to put out to him so he can answer it for you. You have all the ways to get in touch with him. If you want, everything is public. All the information regarding him is on the website, Fort Bend County Precinct 3. You can always visit. We can throw in the link in the descriptions. And thank you so much, Nabil, for showing up. It's an honor to host you. And we are so proud of you to have a Muslim, first Muslim, and a Pakistani constable in this community. So thank you so much. And thank you for showing up. Keep doing the good work. And that's all for today. And अपना ख्याल रखिएगा. Signing off. Allah Hafiz.